Hey guys, Ant here. I've got Conrad joining me here today. We are looking at, fueling up yourself for Coast to Coast. You did Coast last year, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Conrad's been through the hard yards of working out what works for him. I've done it a couple of times, and I also, I've had a run in with some things that don't work and some things that do work. But Conrad has definitely done quite a bit of research on it. I think it's important to cover on what we're wearing to start with. So a lot of people that are doing Coast to Coast, for example, there's a lot of other races out there that require this gear as well, but Coast to Coast is quite big. I'm wearing a Peak PS marathon racer. It's got a hydration system in the back, and then you can run your hose through, and it's got a little clip. That clip comes with it, and you've got some really, really good little storage for all your goodies, snacks, that kind of thing. And they come in frame sizes, so you just got to work out what works for you. And you're on a Rastex one. It looks pretty comfy. Obviously can cinch it in quite a bit.
Yeah.
Bit of tidy up,
Yeah.
that's the one.
A bit tighter, I mean, yeah.
And then you've got, what have you got? You've got foam block here. So there's three little hoses that can come through.
So we can show you through there.
Which is really, really handy. Makes setting up your system a lot easier. And then if you flip around, you've also got a hydration slot at the back that runs through as well. So these are really good PFDs to set up for Coast to Coast, fueling along the way. How long is the pedal race roughly?
For a quick person, you might be 4.5.
That's
someone
pretty
that's
fast.
a bit slower, you'd be probably closer to 6. So it's a long time.
But the catch is that you've already done a whole heap of different activities before that. You've done a run, you've done a bike ride,
Yep.
and then you're going to pedal for that long. You're going to need to fuel yourself. You can't run on your body, your engine doesn't run on nothing. It's the same as a vehicle, you've got to fuel it up. So, what was your setup? What would you do?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, I've got a unique, but also I do work with my clients in a similar way. So I'm probably going to talk what are the key things we need to think about, and then kind of you need to manipulate that for what you need. So I think the key things we need to understand, or the base needs, is hydration. And for most people don't realise, even though you're sitting on water, you're probably going to be sweating a lot. I know when I hop out, when I haven't had a swim, I still hop out pretty wet. So, you might be from 500 mils an hour, probably up to a litre an hour that some people are taking on.
Yep.
So you think 6 hours, if you're a big unit, that's going to be that's a fair bit of
that's a lot to consume.
Lot to lose, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are king, and we're looking anywhere. So for my top guys are probably 100-ish grams of carbs per hour. Now that's a lot for a lot of people, and minimum, regardless of your body size, we're probably, for a race like this, you need to be definitely over 60. If you're having less than 60, you're going to be, it's going to be a tough, Woodstock's going to be a tough sort of end of the trip for you compared to everything else. Obviously the complexities is how do I get that much food, that much fluid, while trying to paddle down a grade 2 river and hold on to my paddle.
Yeah, because you got to keep paddling the whole time. Like, time is of the essence. You've got checkpoints to make, but you've also got to keep moving forward. If you stop, you lose momentum.
Yeah, and what I've done in the past, before I did Coast and the way I worked with my clients, sometimes it was, hey, can you take your hand off and grab something out of your pockets, or grab something out of wherever it is. But I had a client that actually lost a pedal one year.
No.
And they were lucky there was someone else on the river that gave them their spare one.
That was a close call.
But that happens.
Yeah.
So, my advice now is, can we actually prevent you from taking your hands off the pedal unless it's actually really necessary, or you are advanced and you can actually do that? Because a lot of people, it is their probably first decent hit on the water, and they are probably quite nervous.
Yep, and it's all new learning. You're pretty much jumping into the deep end. You don't quite know what you're getting into. I mean, when I started paddling and doing coast stuff, I was eating music bars. You don't take the wrappers. Where do you put the wrappers? Was it going to last long enough on the water? I actually found it disintegrated. It wasn't so good, but I also ran out of steam pretty fast. So important nutrition is, you got to have it on the head. Do you do a chart at all? Like, how do you work it out?
Yeah, so what you do is you go use those numbers of a base, and you go, right, what am I going to try and eat? And you figure out how you're going to set yourself up. So there's a few different strategies. So with obviously the bladder, we've got about a 2 litre in the back, right?
Bang on.
And that's probably, if you use a pretty good, decent, if we think of something like Tailwind or Pure Sport Nutrition's race fuel that you've got available here, this here you're looking about sort of 90 grams per 700 mils, and here you're about sort of 50-ish grams per 700. So you're getting a pretty good whack of carbs in that back. So that's probably the first thing to consider as well. For my longest day, or those that probably want something a little bit food-based, again, Tailwind and Pure both have options that you could use as an alternative to straight carbohydrates or electrolytes. But for most people, 2 litres is not going to be enough.
Right.
And for most people that I work with, they have, oh, you will get a freshwater uptake, or I'll use my paddle to try
and
and
you had one of those systems there ready to go, eh?
Yeah, so what I actually had, we'll talk about that soon. What I had in my boat itself, I actually had, oops, the daisies, don't break it now, 4 litres of fluid in the bottom of the boat. I had 2 litres of a race fuel and 2 litres of actually a hospital grade food option. So it was 4 litres there. And then what I did, I actually used a soft flask here, super handy, use it on the run. That goes literally front pocket, that straw comes up there, and you go 1, 2, 3, however
so
that
you've
works.
got 3 holes to work out with, and you can play
Different
around
options.
with them. That's a really smart idea.
I use Red Bull because the point of my race was that was what I was hanging out for, caffeine halfway through.
So Red Bull was purely for the caffeine for you?
Yeah, caffeine, but also sugar. It's carbohydrates.
Right, and it's a nice change up because you're normally used to all the tailwind and pure, which is great, works. But it's nice to change it up occasionally.
Yeah, for the mountain run, for those that are doing longer stay, you're going to be predominantly, I guess, like electrolyte type drink. Whereas for something that is more kayak, you've got an opportunity to have something that's a bit, I guess, food close, and that's a real game changer. A lot of my clients.
So if you had a hose that's going up through here, it's going to whack you in the face. So you had a system that worked, didn't you?
Yeah, I just actually went to it was a Bunnings and Mitre 10 again. I'm not trying to plug another store, but just got a little bit of a wire that had just casing around it and just wrapped around it. A little bit of duct tape.
Keep it simple.
Straight up, and then I could bend them all the way that I wanted to set them up, and then this one here just sat in the middle and was happy days.
Great idea.
Yeah, and that worked really well. So I was just chunk chunk.
Yep.
Sipping on there. So for those that are wanting to sort of put in their own system, we'll probably encourage you to talk to someone that is specialised to install a system. But if you're, a bit of a battler or you're DIY, obviously you've got the connections here that you can get from Further Faster. But the key one here is this one-way valve. So that ensures that you're not getting too many air bubbles or things are going to start to slide down, because if you have got your fuel system set up, you're not going to be able to get enough fuel on if you're not finishing what's in the boat there with those numbers. So that's probably the key things on the sort of the fluid hydration. Obviously, a lot of people use sports food. There's so many different options downstairs. Biggest thing that I see clients, so they go, cool, I'm going to pop it in my pockets here and I'm going to train like that. You forget you're going to have a bib on.
Well, you do, but it's also quite hard to get to. They're sealed, they're not opened up.
Exactly. So that would be the first thing if you're planning on using this. You might want to consider making sure you've got a pocket on your spray deck.
This is quite a genius move. I mean, it's pretty simple, but I feel like every new coast-to-coaster out there is taking one of them, and it makes the life so much easier.
And that's my spare snack pocket. So if I do feel like I need to have some spare snacks, something different.
It's a visual as well, isn't it? You can see 100%. It's like you're looking at it. You don't see it on you. Like, when you're paddling all the time, essentially this part here can sometimes, I don't know, you kind of lose sight of it. So having it right in front of you makes it easy, because just think about it, you've already been active for such a long time. Your body is already starting to get tired. You still need to fuel yourself. Visual is really, really good to have.
And the last thing, that instead of trying to rip these bad boys open every single time, you can actually slap those in your soft flask, and you can actually do a diluted carb drink, or you can make the electrolytes highly concentrated and put that in there as well.
Perfect.
So there's lots of different strategies you can do to hit those numbers.
But you need a plan for this, right? You can't do it the night before. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, because your body has to react to the stuff, right?
Well, you've got to trial it, because you're going to find there's things that you do like and don't like, and how you're actually going to strategize that. So it's making sure that every time you go down the river, whether it be for, like a race like the Classic, or any other time you might do a guided trip, or even just down with some friends, sort your race plan out and practice to see if you can actually strategize that well. Even though you might stop, you want to have a plan in place that you can strategize. And I think that's really key.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they first get into it, they underestimate just how much they consume. That, we see people downstairs loading up a few gels. It's like, hang on, that's probably not quite enough. So you really got to sit down and work it out. And just remember, you do have plenty of storage. Like, the gear you're taking is not going to limit what you can consume. You've got a lot of storage in here, a lot of storage in there, and lots of liquid options, and then the boat. So there's so many different systems out there. Make sure you give it a whirl. But that's fantastic. Really good rundown. I think I'm set for Coast.
Yeah, and these guys at Further Faster are really good. So if you have any questions, want some help to consider how you set yourself up, look, I suggest you come in and see the team, and they'll set you up with the right gear.
Yeah, and every boat's different, so
100%.
we'll help you out with that.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.